Hey everyone, I want to give a quick update on the computer series as well as tell you about something else I've been working on. So if you're interested in what's next for my YouTube channel, then stay tuned. So first off, with the computer series, I'm still planning a couple more videos before I call that project done. My goal is to get to a point where the computer is Turing complete. So that is to say that in principle, it can do anything that any computer can do. Obviously, it's still going to be limited by the amount of memory and clock speed, things like that. But I think by adding one more instruction to the computer to do conditional jumps, sort of if-then logic, that should make it Turing equivalent to what most people would consider a real computer. So I think that's maybe going to be one or two more videos. And I'm actually working on the next video today. Not sure exactly when it'll get out there. I've got some travel coming up, so I'm not sure when it'll wrap up, but it is on its way. But in other news, I started a podcast. The podcast is with two very thoughtful people who like me, are interested in education. We talk about education and other things on the podcast. So one of my co-hosts, also named Ben, was a classroom math teacher for several years, and now he's doing a PhD at Stanford, focused on education and data science. My other co-host, Grant, runs the YouTube channel 3 Blue 1 Brown, which, if you don't know about that, you are in for a treat. He does just absolutely phenomenal explanations of complex ideas from math and a few other areas. So I'll put some links to that down below. But the podcast is called Ben and Blue, and there's already a few episodes out there. So in the latest episode, which is episode number 6, my co-hosts put a question to me that you might be wondering, which is, what's next for my YouTube channel? So just to give you a sense of the podcast, here's a clip from that episode.
Well, see, this right here, this is one of the big values of, I think, you as a person, and especially you as a person with an audience sitting in front of you. There are very few people out there who simultaneously didn't do great in school or felt like it was failing them, but nevertheless came out with an appropriate sense of confidence about what they themselves could achieve. Those don't usually go hand in hand. And I feel like it's this recipe to actually be a source of inspiration for the many students out there that are feeling similar things, but don't have the corresponding confidence, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that is something that drives me, is kind of the empathy for, it's very easy for me to look back and see how things could have gone very differently. I wasn't a great student. I got into like a in-state school and then proceeded to fail out twice at college. I think in total, I took calculus 4 times and failed it 4 times. So not a lot of great positive feedback there. But I feel like I got very lucky because this was in the mid 90s, at the sort of peak of the dot-com boom. And so, knowing anything about computers almost guaranteed you a job, and people weren't asking a lot of questions. And so I was able to kind of get my foot in the door in terms of industry. And then, once you start getting experience in industry, and that started clicking for me. But how often does that happen to someone at the peak of an industry that they are well suited for? So it's just very easy for me to kind of look back and see, I was just very lucky in that situation. And it's easy for me to imagine someone who would be in the exact same situation and not have that insight or not get lucky in the ways that I did. And maybe that's what drives me, is to sort of try to help that person who is really just me.
Given that, maybe we should reframe the original question. What's next for Ben Eater, the channel, that addresses those people most directly? Just the story that you're telling right now, I think the fact that that story is told is in and of itself a meaningful thing and can be a source of inspiration. Showing people who enjoy tinkering how to build their own computer like this obviously addresses that in a much deeper way. But if that was the central thing in mind, saying, okay, there are others who are like you, who might not be in a similar place in history and industry, but need some direction, right? What is the set of videos that is most helpful to them?
Yeah, that's a good way to frame it. And because I think that is, in some sense, that's the part of the videos that I've made that I find kind of the most inspiring, is seeing people who have kind of taken the videos and then extended them and actually built the computer themselves and then posted pictures or sent me pictures or posted videos, of their own thing. And in some cases, they've taken the design and understood it and continued to build on it, or, do more complex things, add more memory, whatever it is.
Well, let me ask you this. How many of those are students versus adults?
It's not 100% either. I guess I don't know the exact breakdown, but I've definitely seen younger sort of high school age kids doing it. Definitely also seen a lot of adults doing it. So less clear what the sort of life impact of that is. I think there's a...
But there exist high school students.
Yeah, for sure. And there's adults who are doing it with their kids, which I think is kind of cool. But I think what is interesting to me is that when I see the pictures and videos and things that people send me of their own projects, what immediately comes to my mind is I know exactly what this person knows. Like they built this thing, they have gone through these steps. It's almost in my mind sort of a credential that tells me something, very meaningful about that person, that they have certain interests, that they have certain abilities, almost in kind of the way that I couldn't demonstrate when I was in school. Like the system didn't give me a tool to demonstrate my abilities in this dimension.
Can we print some kind of Ben Eater certificate of accomplishment that when these people mail you something, you have some automated system that mails them this certificate?
I'm not sure how accredited that would be or anything.
Not at the start, but you fast forward 20 years and just you see.
Yeah, think big. So I encourage you to check out the rest of that episode. The conversation goes off in a bunch of really interesting directions that are much deeper than just the question of what I'm doing next on YouTube. We talk about what we think about when we're making YouTube videos, ways we structure explanations, what makes a good explanation. It's a great conversation. So check that episode out and check out the whole podcast. It's on YouTube, so I'll put a link somewhere around here somewhere, as one does. But you can also subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or wherever fine podcasts are found.